What's up?
How are you?
I'm trying to figure out why my van won't start.
Tell me what's going on. What size engine do we have? Is this a 5.2 or a 5.9?
It's a 5.9.
Okay, all right. So what's going on? We've got no spark. Is that right?
Yeah, there's no spark. I drove it to Burning Man. I don't know if you know what that is. I
No,
drove it to
sir.
Burning Man last year. Got back from Burning Man and went to go pick up some pallets. Came back with the pallets on my trailer. Parked the trailer. Disconnected the trailer, and then went to go start the van again and move it, and I couldn't get it to stay idling. I could start it, but it wouldn't stay idling. And then did that a couple of times, and I had to keep pumping on the gas, keep it going, and then it wouldn't start at all.
Okay.
I tried to. I checked the plugs. I was getting sparks. But then I kept trying to start it, and eventually the battery died, and I was like pissed off, and I was like, you know what, whatever. I'm just gonna deal with this later. Well, later is 9 months.
I gotcha.
Now I have to get it ready for a big festival that I need to haul a bunch of stuff, and trying to figure out why it won't start. And so I actually was just thinking about this while I was filling out the card information, and I smelled gas by the filler tank, like where I put my gas in,
Mm-hmm.
and I was thinking about it, and if my gas line broke, right, and the residual gas that was already in the line would have probably gone to the motor when I was trying to start it, and then eventually it wouldn't start anymore, and I wouldn't have any pressure, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound like it could be something?
Well, in theory, yeah, that's possible, but a real world experience is that wouldn't be very likely.
Like, if there was a hole in the gas line, would it cause it to not get enough pressure
Yeah.
to get fuel to?
Well, let me ask you this: does it leak fuel anywhere when you crank the engine over?
I don't know. I haven't tried recently.
Okay, well then
So,
that would be a good thing to try or check. Absolutely, if there's fuel going on the ground underneath the vehicle rather than to the engine, then yes, that would certainly prevent it from starting. Absolutely. But you said it's got no spark, right?
right.
Okay. Well, why don't you go after the ignition system? I would probably do that first.
Right, that's what I was thinking. Just replace the rotor, and you know,
Well, hang on,
maybe I've got some
hang on.
corrosion.
Time out. So you check. Where did you check for spark? At the spark plugs?
Yes.
Okay. So what you could do is you could check for spark coming directly out of the ignition coil, right?
Right.
If you got spark coming out of the coil going into the distributor cap and the distributor rotor, but nothing coming out of the cap and rotor, then yes, your cap and rotor are bad.
Like corrosion or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. But if you got no spark coming out of the ignition coil, then at that point, either the coil could be bad, the cam sensor inside the distributor could be bad, or the crankshaft position sensor could be bad, which would prevent the coil from even firing spark.
That's a great point. I know it's got to be something simple because it's not. It's not. It's something that is going to be able to be fixed relatively without a lot. Is the fuel pump inside the gas tank in that vehicle?
Yes, sir.
Fuck. Okay. Well, that sucks. That's shitty.
Well, right now, at this point, listen, at this point, you don't even know if you need to replace the fuel pump.
Right. I'm just wondering in case,
Yeah, I gotcha.
It's been sitting for a year. I need to drain the fuel tank and get the gas out of it because I don't want to put bad gas through my fuel system.
I gotcha. Okay. Yeah, you can do that.
Well, that's a great start. I didn't think about that. I didn't think about checking the coil. But I'm also going to check the gas line. Is the fuel filter on the outside of the gas tank, or is it on the inside also?
I think it's only got one fuel strainer inside the tank.
Right. So if the fuel filter is clogged and it's inside the tank, I got to drop the whole freaking tank.
That's correct.
That sucks. Damn it. That's what I was worried about. If for some reason it got.
But hang on, time out. You're way out in left field right now. There's no reason to believe you haven't even checked fuel pressure or the fuel pump or the fuel pump circuit. Yeah, you're worrying about things that don't even need to be worried about at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, you need. Listen, I've been doing this for 20 years, and you call me for some advice, and I'm trying to point you in the right direction. So what you need to do is you need to check for a spark coming directly out of that ignition coil. If there's no spark coming out of the coil, then I would recommend that you check for power going to the ignition coil on the dark green and orange wire as an assistant cranks it over. That wire comes from the auto shutdown relay. If the auto shutdown relay isn't activating for some reason, then again, that leads us back to the cam and crank sensor, provided that the computer is powered up like it should be. So we're going to want to make sure the fuses are good. If you haven't done that, we got to do that. And if you can, I would get a compatible scan tool, plug into the computer, and check for codes in the computer and make sure that the main PCM is communicating like it should be with the key on.
Right. Okay.
If it had, put it this way, if you call me back and you say I made a mistake, it has spark, then I would say, okay, you need to see if it runs on starting fluid. And you go back and you run that test. You call me back and you say it runs on starting fluid. Then we can have the fuel pump conversation. Yes, you have to drop the tank, and that's where it would be going. But we got a spark issue. We don't know if it's a sensor or a PCM issue right now. This doesn't. There's nothing that tells me that we need to go after the fuel pump at this point.
Yeah, I already tried starting with starting fluid, and it wouldn't.
It won't run if there's no spark. If you spray starting fluid in there.
Yeah, I did that before I even checked for spark.
I gotcha. All right.
Well, I jumped the gun.
Yeah, so you might be in a better position than you originally thought. I don't think you have anything wrong with the fuel pump based on what you're telling me. So I would just go after the ignition system first, check the fuses, check for codes, and then check for power from the auto shutdown relay over to your ignition coil, and then go from there. All right. And what you can do is you can always reply back to me, and then we can go from there if you have any questions. Okay.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
Good luck, and let me know what you find. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. You bet. You're welcome. Bye-bye.